I'm gonna share with you what I believe is the exact motion clarity performance of the Sony BVM HX3110 reference monitor. And you cannot find this information anywhere. I believe Sony doesn't even want you to know, okay? Because even if you buy this reference monitor at a discounted price, let's say you get it on Black Friday for $38,700 to test the motion clarity of this monitor, you have like 300 hours only. And if you want to keep using it, you need to pay extra, like $1,000 more. This is crazy. So I understand it is difficult to get excited about this because you're not going to sell your car to have this monitor for gaming. But for me, it is very interesting to know, okay, what is the absolute best we can have? Because let me tell you, this monitor, of course, has great contrast and HDR impact, of course, accuracy. But if you add to that great motion clarity, I mean, that's end game. Now, of course, this is not optimized for gaming, so the input lag might be mediocre or maybe even terrible. But 120 FPS is not too bad, even if it doesn't have a low latency mode. It's exciting, okay? When they announced this monitor, I went to the website and I read all this thing. And when I got here and I saw this picture, okay, it has good motion clarity. Let me read this. And it says, this display is far clearer than existing OLED competitors, okay? And I was like, okay, so this is better than OLED. That means that it has to be better than 240 hertz OLED, okay? So if this is only 60 or 120 hertz, it has to have less than 4 milliseconds of persistence. And if you can have that with reference accuracy, because this is a reference monitor, that's very good. Now, I am even more excited to know that you can actually get great motion with HDR brightness. You can get 1000 nits with that feature max out. That's very good, okay? Now, how good is it exactly? At 120 hertz, I'm going to explain you how I am figuring out exactly what is the persistence of this monitor. So motion clarity is limited by persistence, okay? Not by how fast is the response time, none of that. I think the marketing here is a little bit confusing, but that's how Sony wants this to be. Confused. They don't want to tell you exactly what's going on. This is like Area 51 level of technology. So they don't want you to know, but they're selling it for a lot of money, so I think they should explain. But I'm going to try my best to tell you exactly how good this is in motion. Now, when we look at the marketing material here, when we get to the motion part, this is not, how can I say, this is not, it's this, I'm not gonna say deceiving, but it's like confusing. Like this is not what actually gives you better motion. So you see here, fast pixel response, and then they do this, take a picture, they zoom in, oh, better motion clarity. Motion clarity is limited by persistence. OLEDs have better and faster pixel response time. It doesn't matter which LCD technology they have here. It doesn't matter. OLED has a faster pixel response, period. Okay? So the reason why this can be clearer than OLED competitors is because this monitor is, of course, using backlight manipulation technology to reduce the persistence. Okay? Motion is limited by persistence based on the Blur Buster's law. 1 millisecond of persistence is equal to 1 pixel of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. So what that means is if you have 1 millisecond of persistence, so if a monitor has 1 millisecond of persistence, what that means is that you can open this UFO test at 960 pixels per second. And when you eye track your UFO test, you're going to be able to clearly see the pupils of the alien. So let me reduce the speed here. You would be able to see the pupils of the alien. Very clear, very sharp. That's what it means. So for example, if this reference monitor has 1 millisecond of persistence, you could open this UFO test at 960 pixels per second, follow it, and it would look very clear, perfectly clear. Now, what I believe this monitor has is 2 milliseconds of persistence. So with this reference monitor, using the feature that they call fast response on high, you could have at 120 FPS 2 milliseconds of persistence equal to 2 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. So what that means is that if you open the UFO test at 960 pixels per second, the alien eyes are going to be visible, but they are going to be a little bit blurry. That is 2 pixels of motion blur. They are going to have 2 pixels of motion blur. That's what it means. Is that good? That's very good. That is like a 480 hertz OLED monitor. And we have those already. But the thing is, you don't need 480 FPS. You can get that with only 120 FPS, which is obtainable. And you can get that motion clarity with 1000 nits peak brightness. Now let me tell you how I am guessing that. Because, you know, we did a live stream with FOMO. FOMO has a reference monitor. I asked him, he asked Sony, and Sony said, okay, this is what we can give you. Okay, more than this is top secret. So you have to figure it out with this picture here. And that's easy. It's very easy to figure it out. Why? Because of the Talbot-Plateau's law. The Talbot-Plateau's law tells you that you get the average brightness in time. So let me explain you. If we have 4000 nits peak brightness and 1000 nits full screen, which is what this reference monitor can give you when using this peak luminance setting in 4x. Okay? If you get 4000 nits sample on hold, and with that same power, with that same performance, now you use any technology to manipulate the backlight, to flicker some way, to reduce the persistence. And now you go from 4000 nits, you go from here to now having 1000 nits. What that means is you're cutting the brightness 4 times. If you cut the brightness in 4 times, you improve the motion 4x. It's that simple. Okay? Now, that is given that they are not increasing the power. The maximum power consumption of the reference monitor is 450 watts, if I remember correctly. So, given that they are not increasing the power, they are not doing something else, so just giving the same performance, if you go from 4000 nits, sample and hold, you flicker, down to 1000 nits, you are reducing the persistence 4x. Reducing the persistence 4x is going to cause a 4x brightness reduction or more based on the Talbot-Plateau's law, and you are improving the motion clarity 4x based on the Blur Buster's law because you are reducing the persistence in 4x. Now, of course, there are other limitations to motion clarity, such as gray to gray, but if this technology is called fast response, I guess that this is actually very clear, that you don't have a lot of ghosting or crosstalk, that you don't have across the screen. I guess that you don't have anything on any trailing artifacts, nothing, but of course I would need to test that. This is as far as I can tell you. So to summarize, you have 1000 nits, that's HDR, okay? You have great contrast because this is a dual layer LCD, so you have very good black levels. It is probably following the EOTF, okay? So it's probably even accurate with this setting because it's a reference monitor. I'm not expecting you to turn this on and then suddenly everything looks wrong. Of course not. And then full screen, I guess you have 250 nits. So if you had 1000 nits full screen here, then you cut that, you reduce it in 4x. Now you have 250 nits. So 250 nits full screen, 1000 nits peak brightness, and 2 milliseconds of persistence at 120 FPS. Wow, that is fantastic. Now, reference accuracy and all the features that a reference monitor has, yeah, that might be expensive, but come on, man. This monitor, I bet this monitor doesn't cost Sony more than $1,000. I would bet anything that it doesn't cost $2,000, but my guess is this costs Sony probably $500 or something like that. The reason why this is so expensive is because they can get away with it. That's the only explanation. The monitor uses 450 watts. Nowadays, for example, this LG C1 OLED uses 200 and something watts, not even 300 watts. So you might think, oh, 450 watts, that's too much. We have plasma TVs back in the day. This one right here is a Pioneer Kuro Elite Pro 151 FD, 60 inches. It uses 524 watts, and that is before I went into the service menu and reduced the ABL. Now it uses even more power. So consumer displays could go back to be a lot more powerful so we can get more performance. So the reason why this reference monitor is more expensive is not because it uses more power. And it's not because it has 4 fans in the back. I mean, how many fans? My PC has like 8 fans at least. So fans are not expensive. Cooling is not that expensive. 450 watts, that's not why this is more expensive. It is accurately calibrated. I don't need that reference accuracy. Just give me a decent calibration. I'm not asking reference for a consumer display. And this technology to reduce the persistence is not Area 51 level of technology. I am sure here it is very well calibrated, so you reduce the crosstalk and all the ghosting and all of that. But they can be doing one of these two. So this reference monitor is either flashing the entire screen or it is doing a rolling scan to simulate what CRTs used to do. Now, if I have to bet what is this reference monitor doing, I would say it is flashing the entire screen. But it doesn't matter how you reduce the persistence to improve the motion. You just need to reduce the persistence. But those are the two techniques that we know. So I guess it is actually flashing the entire screen. So maybe that's what Sony doesn't want you to know, but anyone can figure that out. You just need to point a very high speed camera to the reference monitor, and that's it. You just record what's going on and you see what's going on. So I mean, any company can copy that. It's not a big deal. So my point is, yes, this is too expensive. Nobody's going to buy this, but I strongly believe that we could have this with a consumer display. I don't need the professional features, all these ports in the back, the software support. I mean, the HDR analysis tool that the reference monitor has, we have that now for free on the PC. So you don't need a reference monitor for that anymore. We have the HDR analysis tool for free on the PC using Reshade. And you can use that for gaming, but also for videos. You can use Reshade plus MPV. So, I mean, you don't need a reference monitor for that anymore. So, yeah. I don't want to devalue completely what this is, but it is clearly absurd. The price is absurd. And it's even more ridiculous to have to pay this, and then after that, you need to pay another $1,000 so you can get the feature that the monitor already has. So this feature that I'm talking about comes for like 300 hours. You can try it. After that, you have to pay $1,000 more. Come on. It's like, you know, we were doing the live stream the other day, and Adam from Layman's Terms said, there's a BMW car that you buy, and the heated seats are a subscription. So after you buy the car, you need to pay an annual subscription to use the heated seats that your car already have. This is kind of Apple level of nonsense, what I'm talking about here. Doesn't make any sense. Why would you have to activate an additional optional license to get this feature? Nonsense. I don't care how good it is, what they're doing, it's just nonsense, okay? So my point is, we should be able to get this, okay, at least 90% of how good this monitor is on a consumer display, and it shouldn't be that expensive, okay? Now, something like this, 32 inches with, you know, gaming features, low latency and all of that, how much? I think I would pay for that $1,500, okay? 32 inches only, 120 hertz only. Just, I don't even need reference accuracy, just good enough. EOTF tracking and these features, I would pay $1,500. Remember, you might say, well, why don't you get an LCD monitor that has NVIDIA's, you know, DIAC 2, ULMB 2.0, or the latest NVIDIA Pulsar monitor that's going to have even better motion clarity than this, much better. Why don't you get that instead? Because the picture quality sucks. This is a dual layer LCD monitor. So you get very good black levels, very good contrast. With those crappy LCD monitors, the picture quality sucks. That's the big difference. Here you get everything in the brightness too. Here you get the HDR impact, 1000 nits, 250 nits full screen. That's very good. You get the motion clarity at just 120 FPS. You get the colors and of course all the other stuff. So that's why this is what we need. Okay, but we need it at a price that makes sense, of course. Nobody's going to sell their car to buy a reference monitor for gaming that doesn't even have gaming features, and you have to press buttons and all that stuff. But yeah, I was excited to know, and I think we finally know. Now, could it be different? Yes, but I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I don't see how. If it is 4,000 nits sample and hold, you start manipulating the backlight, you go down to 1,000 nits, you are improving the motion clarity 4x. 120 hertz is 8.3 milliseconds of persistence. You divide 8.3 divided by 4, you get 2. That's the math. It's very simple, based on the Talbot-Plateau's law. Very simple. I don't see how I'm getting this wrong. But yeah, if I'm wrong, let me know. If you know better, let me know, because Sony is not telling us. And if you have the reference monitor, this is very easy to test. Very easy. All you have to do is open the UFO test. So you come here, UFO test, open this one, change the speed to 960 pixels per second, and take a look at the alien eyes. So take a look at this, at the eyes, the black part, the pupils. If they look perfectly clear, then it's 1 millisecond of persistence or less. I don't believe so, but it could be. But if they look a little bit blurry, you can still see them, but they look a little bit blurry, that's 2 milliseconds of persistence. And if it's worse than that, then this is trash. Okay, it's forget about the excitement. It's not then clearer than the existing OLED competitors. And this would be, this marketing would be completely misleading. Well, yeah, maybe they are just referring to reference monitors. They are not thinking about monitors. Although we already have 480 hertz OLED monitors, so that's 2 milliseconds of persistence, sample and hold, and you get all the brightness. But yeah, you need 480 FPS, and you're not getting that. Although there's a monitor that has 240 BFI, but then you lose brightness. You cut brightness in half, and now you need 240 frames per second locked. You're not playing AAA games at 240 frames per second, which is what I want. I want to play AAA games with that motion clarity, with HDR. I want everything, okay? So yeah, very interesting to me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions if you know more about it, and if you have any questions.